Thanks, everybody. Let us call to order this, what is today? May 7th regular meeting of the City of Kalamazoo Planning Commission, our second virtual meeting. So welcome, everybody. If you could please call the roll.
Commissioner Chambers,
Present.
Commissioner Ellis,
Present.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Present.
Commissioner Greenman Wright,
Here.
Commissioner Milliken,
Here.
Commissioner Patelko,
Here.
Commissioner Pitts,
Here.
and we heard from Commissioner Vyas. Commissioner Wisner.
Here.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
We have quorum.
Yes, we do.
We received, and so hopefully it's before you, a formal agenda for tonight's evening. I believe we have one change to the agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Eldridge?
That is correct. The public hearing regarding 2203 Paddington Road for the special use permit to authorize a group daycare is postponed to the next meeting, which is Thursday, June 4th. So we wanted to let the audience know that it will be, again, Thursday, June 4th is when that request and the public hearing will be held. And as a reminder to the viewing audience listening to this, watching this or listening to just the audio, if you wish to provide public comment for tonight's meeting, you can call 269-226-6573, and it's on the screen. But for those that are just listening to the audio, again, that number is 269-226-6573, and you can leave a recorded message. Because there are multiple agenda items on the agenda tonight, please state whether your comments are related to the public hearing for 1090 Stockbridge Avenue, the Oakland Winchell Neighborhood Plan, or if they're general citizen comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
No other changes.
If not, we'll need a motion to approve the agenda as amended with the postponement of item G2.
I move to approve the agenda with the additional agenda postponement to June 4th.
Support.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the amended agenda by Ellis, support by Chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
See a lot of hands. Any opposed? Yep. The amended agenda is approved. We also received meeting minutes from our April 15th, 2020 special meeting. Were there any questions, concerns, changes, comments on the meeting minutes? No, thank you to staff for your effort in putting those together from the unique meeting, just from the format. If there's no questions or concerns, can we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
And support?
Support.
Okay, motion by Greenman Wright, support by Pitts. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Good. Any communications or announcements?
No other announcements.
Excellent. And there's no new business on the agenda, so we'll move into public hearings. And I'll just reiterate what Mr. Eldridge said. The format for the public hearings will have the applicants or the staff speak, we'll have the applicants speak, and then we will listen to the public comments that have been provided for us through the telephone number. Again, that number 269-226-6573. So if you'd like to leave comment on the 1009 Stockbridge Avenue item or on the neighborhood plan item, please call that number, indicate which one it is. We will close the public comments on each of those items at the conclusion of the presentations. So at the conclusion of the presentation on 1000 Stockbridge Avenue, that will be the closing of the public comment opportunity on that item. At the conclusion of the presentation on the neighborhood plan, that will be the closing of the public comment on that item. So use that information on timing for getting your comments in, please. With that, we'll open the public hearing on PC 2020-07, 1009 East Stockbridge Avenue. And Mr. Eldridge, lead us away.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so everybody should see the aerial view for 1009 East Stockbridge. Was that what you're viewing there? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure before we get rolling. And then after the presentation, we have Joe Brown from Urban Alliance and David Barman, who is the architect that Urban Alliance has been working with. So, but to just reiterate what the request is all about here, the Urban Alliance, which has been leasing this building for some time, is now in the process of purchasing the building from United Methodist Church. The applicant is requesting the special use permit to allow the conversion of the former church to a community service center, because in this residential zone district, the church is a special use. This is now a change from that special use to another special use. The property itself, 1.4 acres, so it's a substantial piece of property. It is improved with the church structure, as I mentioned. So there's the current layout is sanctuary, classrooms, offices, kitchen, meeting space, that roughly 9,000 square feet worth. And then there's a large gymnasium on the northeast corner of the building. The parking lot can accommodate, from my calculations, 42 off-street parking spaces, and then they've got a gravelled area along the north property line that is, that's just sitting idle right now. So when we look at the zoning, you can get a good flavor for this area. We're obviously just a block off of Portage Street. The subject property and the surrounding properties are all in RD19, and then a little ways north it goes to RM15, but it is all residential. The existing land use, again, shows residential all the way around it. It's identified as tax exempt because that was the church's status, and of course the nonprofits that are currently occupying it. And then when we look at the future land use map, it still shows as residential in nature, R2 residential, which is a medium intensity residential. Community service centers, are typically found in residential areas where they're in close proximity to the citizens and the community that they're serving. When looking at the master plan and the shared prosperity goals of the strategic vision, there is linkage pertaining to youth development because of the youth support services that you're going to hear a little more about, and support for adult job training. There's also, it also is aligned with the complete neighborhoods goal as far as aligning land uses with the needs of the neighborhood and providing support for a full range of citizens. And as you'll find out, Urban Alliance does offer a range of programs that they are involved with. And they have ideas to further their outreach now that they're taking over the building. So what we have here is a view from the corner of Stockbridge and Division Street. As you can see, there's the church signs and the cross are still present. When we look at the back of the building from Mill Street, you can get a good idea of where the gymnasium area is. And then this is a view looking at the north side of the building. There are some dumpsters there. You can also start to see some of the other homes around the property. Directly to the north, there is one duplex, and then it goes back to single family beyond that. When we look to the east of the site, single family homes. When we look to the south of the site, again, single family homes, and then the same looking to the west. So it is uniquely situated in the neighborhood to really provide direct access for folks. So it is. So going on to Urban Alliance, they've been in the Edison neighborhood for 15 years and located at this particular location for the last 5 years. The mission of the Urban Alliance is to understand and meet the needs of the community through outreach. Urban Alliance participates in the Group Violence Initiative, which is an intervention program, the Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation Kalamazoo program, Momentum programs, which are workforce development. They partner with Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services to provide financial literacy in cooperation with funding from LISC. At the present time, there are 2 other nonprofits in the building. There's offices for Building Blocks and the Group Violence Intervention Coordinator. So, and Urban Alliance itself maintains 20 full-time staff. They do have plans to make the building accessible to outside groups, including churches. And at this time, they're not planning to make any major modifications to the building footprint. However, they are going to make some upgrades as far as the functionality of the interior and make some exterior improvements. Looking at the outreach, Urban Alliance has reached out to the community and they provided an update on their plans at 1090 Stockbridge Avenue by setting up and holding an open house, which was the 2nd week of March. Additionally, the information regarding the special use permit has been shared with the Edison Neighborhood Association, and staff has sent notices to all the property owners within 300 feet. And we have received only one correspondence, which was forwarded to the board tonight. It was mostly focused on the condition of the dumpsters, which I'll just say in brief, because this is going through site plan review, that's something that will be looked at. And dumpsters are required to be screened. So if those dumpsters were enclosed by a fence, then it wouldn't be an issue for illegal dumping occurring. So the review criteria that the commission needs to look heavily at when considering a special use permit is the functionality of the site and how it fits with the surrounding land uses. This obviously is a site that has frontage on multiple streets, and Stockbridge Avenue and Mill Street are connector streets, carry a fair amount of traffic already. The main entrance is off of Mills, and there's one off of Stockbridge. They also have an incidental entrance off Race Street. Let's see. So the community service centers, are allowed as under a special permit in the residential zone district, and that's what the board needs to be considering here tonight. As far as the location and design, since they're not making any adjustments to the footprint of the building, and Urban Alliance has operated at this site for the past 5 years with no issues being raised, that is a very positive sign, and there appears to be ample off-street parking for the programming proposed. There's not going to be any environmental impact that was noted with this special use permit proposed. The road capacity is acceptable for the proposed use. No new driveways are planned. Emergency access to the site is more than sufficient. And as mentioned before, this is something that is subject to the site plan review process. So they will be going through that process, and the city staff will be taking a closer look at the site, and any site plan issues like landscaping, access management, screening of dumpsters, and so forth. So the findings from staff: community service centers are allowed as a special use in zone RD 19. The proposed use will be able to comply with all the zoning ordinance requirements. Urban Alliance has been a tenant at this building for the last 5 years while providing programs and services to the neighborhood. The proposed facility will continue to house Urban Alliance staff and provide meeting space for outside groups. The Urban Alliance administration administers programs that serve youth, adult, and other nonprofits. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the special use permit for this community service center. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff at this moment? All right, good. Why don't we hear from the applicant, and we can come back with any clarifying questions for staff later. Does the applicant have a presentation?
No, I don't have a presentation.
Or not a presentation, but just some remarks. Sorry.
I have a hat on too, so I'm feeling a little bit out of place here, but it's definitely a hat day for Zooming. So just to clarify that. Yeah, we're really excited. We've done a lot, we feel, with our community and for our community. And the honest truth is, the church has basically walked away from this facility as far as upkeep, maintaining it, so on and so forth. And that was a big impetus for us to say, this building's deteriorating and it has to be fixed. And the church didn't have the money to do that. So it was time for us to step in, purchase the building, and start to create an environment that can facilitate multiple neighborhood events and not be an eyesore either. We want to really make it someplace welcoming and appreciated within the neighborhood, and show in a very physical way the value we put in all of our friends in the community. We are excited to look forward to being able to update and upgrade security, just the safety of the building itself, adding some ADA compliance as far as access for those with special needs, actually getting the auditorium into a usable state where we could have weddings and quinceaneras and public events and things like that, as a resource for the neighborhood. We're looking forward to being able to provide a lot of opportunities, even potentially a free clinic. We've been approached by a medical unit that wants to provide free healthcare for community members. So a lot of things that we feel it's time that we take the added responsibility of owning an icon in the neighborhood and keeping it going, serving the community like it has for, I think it's going on 100 years or so with the church. So we do partner with a lot of nonprofits already. So the Building Blocks is a great partner of ours that shares space. We also do house the group violence initiative coordinator in our building. And we are hoping to expand those offerings to other organizations that fit the mission and can provide beneficial services to our community. We partner with Youth for Christ for our youth program. They are housed in that. Edison was, they started an initiative called the City Groups, which are in the core neighborhoods in Kalamazoo. And Edison was the first one that they started working with kids in our building using that. We also do a lot of mainly summer events, block parties. I think last year our block party was well over 500 attendees. And we had we partner with the city for representatives from the police, public safety, and lots of other organizations providing options for support, as well as lots of sugar for the kids and hot dogs and hamburgers. So we enjoy doing those things. We want to make sure that the neighborhood knows that we're there for them. We're not there for us. And we are currently working on a survey of the neighborhood to ask them what they need rather than us telling them what we think they need. And so we're in the process of doing that. And that's going to really drive the direction that we go in the building use. David is the architect. He'll have more of the technical details, but we don't have a lot of plans except to make things safer, better, cleaner, more useful. We have no plans for walls coming down. We need to put a new roof on it. Things. I think we had a family of raccoons living in the ceiling a couple years ago, so we want to make sure that's taken care of. But other than that, not a lot of major construction in our opinion. Making some more efficient new windows, things like that. So does anyone have any questions about our organization? Or I don't want to assume anyone knows who we are. That's but I think we're fairly well known within the Kalamazoo community. But do you have any questions specific to the building use or what our plans are?
Okay, are there any questions for the applicant?
So I don't know if you have questions for the architect. He's joined us also. So
Thank you. No questions? Okay. If there's no questions for the applicant, I think now is when we listen to any public comments. Pete, do you know if we've received any comments on this?
Chair Milliken, we do not have any comments received for this public hearing.
Okay. Good.
And
Okay.
and if I may, the correspondence that was forwarded earlier today, the email regarding the dumpsters, that has been all cleaned up. In fact, the slide I showed of the north side of the building with the dumpsters, you could see the dumpsters had been emptied. The miscellaneous furniture that had been probably disposed of in the dead of night next to the dumpster had all been removed when I was out there today. So I just wanted to make that note. Thank you.
Well, and that was one of my, I'll just take the opportunity to ask a couple of clarifying questions. That was one of my questions following on that email. I assumed that's the type of thing that'll be addressed in the site plan review process. You addressed that earlier, so thanks for addressing that. The second one for you, Pete, is really the key difference that's bringing this here, the fact that with these modifications and with the ownership of the building, they're gonna perhaps do some of these larger events and more ongoing interior events that could bring larger gatherings. Is that what kicks it up and needs this special use permit versus their whatever they've been doing the last 5 years? I mean, I know what you've been doing from your explanation, but there's something that's triggered this request.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to more readily utilize the building and eventually the whole building and expand their program offerings. So there will be, more likely more activity on the property than if it was just utilized as a church with, maybe an incidental daycare. I mean, they have a whole list of programs, catering to children through, adult education and financial educational programs. So, so it would be kind of an increase in use of the property. That's why I wanted to kind of talk about the fact there was an existing parking lot that they actually have added green space they're not utilizing right now, as well as that area on the north side of the property. So they've got room for expansion too, depending on how their programming goes, in the future.
Good. I mean, it's nuanced, but I think it's an important point because since to me, it's that switch from being a tenant occupant of a church that had a special use permit and just sort of utilizing the space as an office with occasional beyond office activity, to now being the sole occupant and user and having the flexibility under this new special use permit to utilize the full opportunities that the space presents, the gymnasium, the larger auditorium space, everything that whole space presents. So I think to me that's the key difference here, and that's what brings this forward. And I appreciate you saying that because it helps explain that in my mind, and I thought it was important to clarify that. So thank you.
Yep.
Any other clarifying questions or technical questions for staff at this moment?
I have a question. Just a small clarification, actually. Does that providing this special use permit for the community service change the tax status of that property at all, or is it still going to be tax exempt normally?
It only changes the tax status of the property if the community service organization is a for-profit entity. But but Urban Alliance is a nonprofit entity, so the tax status would not change.
So it will just still be the same tax exempt location. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's clear clarification. Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions, technical questions? And if not, I think I'll open it up for a motion. Don't be shy.
Okay, I move. This is really disorienting. Oh my goodness. I'm split screen. I'm like, where's my paper? Approve the special use permit for PC 2020.07 for a community service center at 1009 East Stockbridge Avenue.
All right, motion by Greenman Wright. Do we have support?
Support.
Chambers Beaches, so support by Chambers. Do we have discussion on the motion? We go to Greenman Wright in the center square.
Sure. I think it's a pretty straightforward request. Obviously, they are changing status from a church to a nonprofit, which is what's triggering it. I think it makes sense. I am really excited that they are using and maintaining the building. We've seen with other churches in the downtown area where neglect has led to, the churches being beyond repair. So I'm really excited to see them investing this money in the neighborhood, physically in the building, but also the programming sounds really exciting too. I mean, I already know what you guys are doing and it's great, but this sounds even better. I'm glad you can have a permanent location. So I will be voting yes.
Any other discussion on the motion? Yes. Ms.
Um,
Epps?
Just the idea of going and utilizing the space for something good just really excites me. And I'm just very happy that this is going on. And you guys are sound really passionate about what you're doing. It's not about you, it's about the community and everything that you're putting your hard work into. So I'll be voting yes as well and have my support.
Anything else? So I will add the historic reuse here, especially it was such a key building in the fabric of the neighborhood is very impressive, and I applaud you for that, certainly. And I'll add, in addition, this is consistent with the criteria in the zoning ordinance, and I agree with the findings of staff in the staff report. And I'd like to make sure that's in the minutes as well. So there's nothing else around the board. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenman Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Milliken,
Yes.
Commissioner Patelko,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Wisner.
Yes.
Great, congratulations. Okay, so we'll move on to our next public hearing, and just a reminder, if you'd like to leave public comment on this public hearing, as well as other citizen comments later in the agenda, you still can. The phone number for that again is 269-226-6573, 226-6573. We will be taking public comment on this item until the conclusion of the presentation. So with that, we will open PC.
I apologize for interrupting, but thank you very much as an organization and me personally, and we appreciate it. So thank you for partnering with us on this.
Certainly, thank you. So we will open up PC 2020.09, the presentation of the Oakland Winchell Neighborhood Plan for incorporation in the 2025 Master Plan. And again, just as because we've had a few of these neighborhood plans, and then we had a couple of neighborhood presentations. So this is an amendment to the master plan as a neighborhood plan. So we will be in a recommending body. We are recommending approval of this, or we're recommending action. I guess I shouldn't prejudice. We're recommending action on this neighborhood plan to the city commission. So just a reminder of what we're being asked to do tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to staff, I believe. Okay.
Hey, Katie, would you like to lead us off?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Katie Riley. I'm the neighborhood activator for the city of Kalamazoo, and I'm here today to present the Oakland Winchell Neighborhood Plan. The planning process for Oakland Winchell started in 2018, and for the engagement, they used a variety of techniques, including community meetings, online surveys, a lot of focus groups, and kind of unique to their process was they broke into committees based on the major themes that their plan ended up addressing, and those committees were led by resident leaders. So in their plan, they include topics of a future land use vision, especially for the corner of Stadium Drive in Howard that is currently the Kalamazoo Christian property, connectivity, environmental responsibility, safety, and good governance as it relates to how they can partner both with the city and other neighborhoods, other organizations to move their plan forward. And I am happy to introduce you to Pete Kushner to give you a little more of the neighborhood perspective about the plan. Pete is the president of the Oakland Drive Winchell Neighborhood Association, which led the planning process.
Hi, Katie. Thanks. Am I on? Am I good to go?
Yep,
Thanks.
you're on.
All right, thank you. First, I just want to thank the Planning Commission for taking the time to continue to move government forward, as well as city staff. I know that it's pretty crazy times, and so I appreciate that you guys can continue to move forward and help our city. You know, as Katie kicked it off, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, and obviously you're welcome to ask me any questions that you have about our neighborhood plan. As Katie mentioned, we did start this off that we were as a neighborhood board and as a neighborhood. I am sure that we were very excited when the city kicked off the initiative to give neighborhoods a voice in the master plan through our neighborhood plan. At our peak, as Katie mentioned, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to put together a neighborhood plan. I'm not saying any neighborhoods had an advantage or disadvantage. We are the first neighborhood that completed our plan to date that was not a core neighborhood, that at least had some structure, at least to some kind of a neighborhood plan, which is great for them. We had a bunch of volunteers led by our board. At our peak, we had 5 committees with over 40 neighborhood members combined working on those committees in the 5 areas that Katie had mentioned. I'm very proud of our neighborhood residents for pulling together. We had, in addition to multiple open houses through our neighborhood association meetings, surveys, regular website and email newsletter postings of our progress. We had countless committee meetings to digest all the comments and the feedback from our neighbors. What I will say about our plan is I do believe that it greatly represents the hopes and dreams and desires of where we want our neighborhood to go. I will also mention that we have many neighbors in a positive way chomping at the bit to begin to which we've already started to begin to implement our neighborhood plan. I come from the world of business, and if you've got a great plan, just like in government, right? You got a great plan, it's sitting on a shelf, it doesn't do any good. So, we've already are starting to transition from a plan to action plans to implementation on a number of issues. I think probably one of the ones that dovetails in nicely is something we're working on with Katie is safe routes to school, which works well with our complete neighborhood plan, as well as some other initiatives. So that's kind of my summary of the plan. I'm sure you've all read it cover to cover, like all the other plans. It's a little bit long, but it's comprehensive. And it truly reflects, I believe, the hard work as well as the initiatives of our government, or I'm sorry, of our of our neighborhood association and our neighborhood at large. So that's my wrap up on the neighborhood plan. I don't know if there's any questions or anything about it.
Are there any? I guess at this point, are there any questions for staff or Mr. Kushner?
Wow.
I have again one more clarification on this, because this plan is very comprehensive. I like it. Just by looking into the neighborhood future land use vision.
Yes.
There's, by looking at the image, there's a natural features to evaluate for inclusion. Are those features, is that how were those features selected? Was that with the city? Was that something that you folks selected?
Right, as you all understand, Alfonso, the city is the ultimate, determiner of zoning and ordinances. So when we began our journey on this, we worked with Christina and Katie to come up with, I'll use the city's terminology of a bubble plan on that particular plan to specifically, which is basically our preference for how that particular area is developed. As far as natural features protection areas that are designated on those maps, I feel that it was a very collaborative effort with our neighborhood, our board, and our city, and those are all included. Everything that's an NFP, I'm not looking at the map, but I'm 99.9% sure everything on there that's designated NFP was approved, recommended by your board and approved by the city commission as part of that overlay. I believe that was last year. So those are all the NFP areas should be locked in as NFP, correct, Katie?
There are a few additional areas. There's another map that has some areas to evaluate in this kind of phase 2 that NFP is working on.
Correct.
That expands it a little bit from what exists currently in the neighborhood. That was proposed by the Environmental Responsibility Committee to be evaluated for inclusion in the future. And that was based on resident feedback, working with the board and working with the city.
So our understanding of a bubble plan is it doesn't change zoning, and it actually is not, I'll call it a legal overlay. And Katie, of course, you can correct me on this, but our understanding was this would be our neighborhood's preference. So as developers and landowners come and go in the future, that as this plan, as I know our neighborhood is hoping, becomes a part of the master plan, like other guiding tenets of the master plan, that developers and future property owners can look at this and go, all right, this is what these neighborhoods want. This is what they would desire in here. And I feel like we worked long and hard on that particular map with the city. I feel like we came to a very much of a win-win as far as what's good for our neighborhood, but also good for the city. And it was a process, but if you look at that map in detail, you can see that anything sort of, if that's what you're looking at, anything kind of north of that of Arcadia Creek, is certainly ready, willing, and available for commercial development in a responsible manner. Anything south of the creek would probably be more of a mixed use, less intense development. So right now it's currently all, I believe it's R4 or RS4. So that's really not probably applicable in today's world on that corner. But, so the bubble plan part of it is more of I'd like to think it's more of a suggestion, but it's definitely would, like other issues that pop up for zoning and land use, as you guys are well aware. There's guiding principles that might, my hope, and I know our neighborhood's hope, is this is more of a proactive document versus other issues that might have come before the planning commission in the last few months that were, through no fault of anyone's, unfortunately, were more reactive, right? Where it was more of a, let's pack the house, and you know what I mean? We're trying to avoid that. We're trying to, anticipate and move forward in a positive, proactive manner on land use in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is very much a residential based neighborhood, and I can guarantee you, having been our president for 10 plus years, that's one of the, if it's not the top issue, it's one of the top 2 or 3 of how do we protect our residential look and feel. So but we have to look at reality on that corner as well.
Nice.
I know we have to get to public comment and we can come back and discuss some more, but are there other technical questions that we want for staff or the applicant at this time? Okay, Pete, do we have any public comment?
We do not have any public comment to share with the board tonight.
Good. Well, that makes that easy. Are there other than questions of staff or the applicant? Well, I have a comment. Since we were talking about the couple of future land use maps, I would agree with everything you said, Pete Kushner. What I liked was, there's some categories appropriately on the city master plan that are new, that are innovative, that are a little amorphous, that are intended to push the boundaries of current zoning, that are encourage the zoning to innovate. And what this neighborhood plan does is sort of present the neighborhood's vision of what that is. So you've got neighborhood edge, you've got core, things like that. I'm not sure exactly, I can't remember exactly which ones fall into this category, but then you've presented, okay, so for us, this is what we think that would mean here, since you haven't zoned those areas yet. So it presents a really nice picture without saying, no, change this. And so I think that was, as you said, very proactive and very useful and helpful. The one change I would make, and it's not really a change, it's more of a technical thing. There's a couple times where the future land use map is shown and the hatching for the natural features is on there, just like on the Imagine Kalamazoo plan, but that hatching is never shown in the legend. And so unless you're familiar with the Imagine Kalamazoo plan, you don't know what that hatching is. And so I would add that to the legend, since it's such an important part of the plan and such a key part of your goals and vision. I think we want to make sure that's captured there, and that people who read that know what that means. So that was really the one primary technical thing that I saw, and I wanted to make sure to mention that.
I won't throw Katie under the bus, but no, Katie and I worked pretty hard to put that map together, and it's a long document, and yeah, we worked on legends, but I think it's a good point, because there were some questions as we worked our way through different drafts about some of the legends of the map. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm guessing Katie will probably toss that in there at some point.
And that wasn't meant to throw stones or to.
Oh, no, I know. No, I looked at it as a positive. Like, hey, I mean, believe me, I mean, putting this plan together, we had neighbors that are like, what does this mean? And, in your mind, you're like, I've been doing this for 2.5 years, so I get it. But it's great to have those fresh eyes going, oh, wait a minute, it's clear to us, but not to everybody. And if it isn't, so yeah, I was teasing Katie. She loves when I do that. She did. So the only other thing I was going to mention about the plan really quick is we had our neighborhood association board meeting last night, and the plan came up, and I know that we have some quick win funding coming up that is part of this as a sort of little pot at the end of the rainbow. So our neighborhood board is working on a plan to be very inclusive, to kind of narrow down some choices that, of course, are part of our neighborhood plan that fulfill those goals. And then we will probably spend the next spring and this summer to present to our neighborhood, so we can come up with a good sort of a consensus on how we should, spend those monies. So we're working on that as we speak. So that's kind of our next short-term step of this plan. So.
Great. Fantastic.
I just had a comment. I know you mentioned being a part of the 2025 and plan for Kalamazoo. Can you just tell me about that? And I know you've been really passionate about this for a couple of years, 10 years, a decade. So honestly,
well, not the plan, but yeah.
Yeah.
So your question is, how does our neighborhood plan fit into the master plan?
Yes, and you mentioned that a little bit, but if you can touch bases about that and just your vision in all for your neighborhood.
Well, I think that as the master plan's gone through a number of iterations over the last, 10, 15 years, it's always been one of the reasons I got involved at a local level was to give more of a voice to all of our neighborhoods, right? I mean, I live in the Oakland Drive Winchell neighborhood, so I obviously I represent that to the city, and I work to build consensus, but get a true feeling as our board to give our neighborhood a voice. So, and I appreciate that question because I was thinking about it and I didn't bring it up, but I'm hoping, not for myself or for our board, and all ego on myself or our board aside, I'm hoping that this is an impetus for other neighborhoods. And I've spoken over the years, especially the last 2 or 3 years with virtually all the other neighborhood leaders as we have our meetings. And I'm hoping that this can be an example like the other neighborhood plans that, it's not that the city ignores us, but, you've got to put your plan forth. You've got to show people what you want. It's one thing to say, we want a better neighborhood, right? But it's another thing to go, we want to work with the city to have a better neighborhood, and boom, here's our plan. So, I'm proud for our neighborhood. I'm proud for our board. I'm proud for myself that we could, and for all of our city staff support that. I hope that every master plan, as it gets updated and looked at every 5 years, that we can do that with our neighborhood plan, because as all our city is a collection of neighborhoods, right? I mean, if we don't have our neighborhood, then we don't have our city. So I believe, and I know our board believes, that the more we give a voice to each neighborhood, to its uniqueness, but how do we work together? And I think that's what these neighborhood plans can do. And that's where I think this is one of the steps, just like Oakwoods and Edison's and the North Side and all the other neighborhood plans that are completed. And I know the others are working on that. And I'm always happy to help any other neighborhood move along. Hopefully on a city level, the next step is to take the neighborhoods that don't even have a neighborhood association and get them involved so that they can take the first step and then the second to a plan. So I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for expanding on that.
Thanks.
Pete, I have just wondering, throughout the development of the plan, how Western Michigan contributed with your plan, with this plan, because they have there's a big chunk of their land inside your neighborhood.
I made an effort multiple times to reach out to Western, and I say that, and I was kind of hesitating because I don't want it to sound like a negative, because I went to some of their master plan meetings for their South neighborhood, and I went to some of their other plans, and I reached out and I got some very positive responses, but 30,000 foot responses, right? Where I would literally stand at one of their meetings and talk to some of their leaders and say, we're kitty corner from you guys, and you're doing some great things on the South neighborhood, and you want to see Stadium Drive improved, and you want to see it more pedestrian friendly. How can we work together as a neighborhood? How can we work with the city? And I still keep in touch. I still feed them information on what we're doing, but like any other relationship, I think that it can be stronger. But it's got to be two-way, and I'm not saying that in the sense that Western's trying to ignore us, but yeah, that was definitely a big consideration, because we want to. I mean, Western's a big part of our city, and it can be a big positive or a big, I don't want to say negative, but it can be a negative to our neighborhood. I get a lot of feedback on probably the biggest thing that would scare most people about that, particularly that future land use map, is if Western ended up buying that property. And I'm sure people see 13-story student housing sky rises going up, which was not the major impetus, but probably in the top 3 or 4 of why we wanted to get a bubble plan out there, so that the city and developers understand that we welcome that type of we welcome development, we welcome commercial tax base, but everything that fits within each neighborhood. I know that Edison or the North Side or West and Jill. Every neighborhood in Millwood, they all have, residential, they all have commercial, but there's different types that all fit into the character of those neighborhoods. So, yeah, we've reached out, and I wish it was better, but it's not as bad as it could be. How about that?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
If there's no other questions, we need a motion to recommend the neighborhood plan for adoption by the city commission. Someone want to make that motion?
I motion the planning commission recommends the Oakland Drive and Winchell neighborhood plan to be amended into the city master plan to the city commission.
All right, motion by Espinosa. Support by Pitts. Okay, is there discussion on the motion?
I just some quick things, is how comprehensive the plan is nice. I like the colors, I like the pictures, I like how everything connects to each other, and I really want to see it developing. It's not gonna be tomorrow, but at a constant pace, I can see this plan happening, and I really, I'm in big support of seeing this plan happening. Yeah, so good effort. I think it was worth the time, Peter.
It was the quickest 2.5 years of my life.
That's it.
Any other discussion? So that I think this is it's a real good addition and enhancement of the master plan as it applies to this neighborhood, which is what these neighborhood plans are supposed to be and should be. So I applaud you for that, and I applaud staff for their efforts here as well on that. So thank you both for leading and guiding this effort. Kudos. If nothing else, can I get a roll call vote on the motion to recommend approval of adoption of the plan to the city commission?
We'll start with Commissioner Wisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Patelko,
Yes.
Commissioner Milliken,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenman Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chambers.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners. I on behalf of our board and our neighborhood, I appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. There's no other business. Do we have any citizens' comments on non-agenda items?
Yes, we have one citizen comment that was received, and we're going to play it under non-agenda items because it is related to the Paddington request.
Okay.
But so we will air that citizen comment tonight. We will also hold on to that citizen comment for the next meeting on June 4th. So I'll let that voice recording go forward now.
Hi, my name is Jessica Gardner McKinley, and I'm a Kalamazoo resident. I live at 2230 Lakeway Avenue, and I rent for my father, David Gardner. I was calling about the Stockbridge Avenue public hearing. I believe mine says 2020.08. And it has to do with 2203 Paddington Road. My concern would be that a letter was sent to my father and to myself indicating something to do with Stockbridge Avenue, whereas this would be a group daycare a street over from me, not on Stockbridge at all. So I feel like that was an interesting way to go about doing things, because I don't think people were quite aware of what was going on. I'm also responding to the fact that we have small lots and occupancies in Millwood, the Millwood neighborhood. And I know there is a daycare, 24-hour daycare that resides there currently. I know it's very populated, a lot of cars, a lot of activity throughout the night. And I just think with our lots and proximity, that would be very difficult. But I'm actually more than anything seeking knowledge about, what is the proposal? How large would this expansion be, or what would it include? So I would very much want to be at the new hearing, which I hear is on June 4th. Again, my name is Jessica Gardner McKinley, 269-569-2679. But also, I'm hoping to get more information and to have an honest, straightforward letter in regards to the actual address and what's going to go on. Thank you.
Okay. We'll hold that for the next item, but sounds like maybe there's a noticing issue that needs to be looked into as we have that hearing at the next meeting as well. So good. We don't have any.
Mr. Chair, I can answer that. There was a correction needed in the notice. And so revised notices were sent to that group. There was only 30 notices or 33 notices for the Paddington request. So we just, we indicated it was revised and corrected the information and resent those notices. So I will reach out to this individual and get their questions answered on the group daycare. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't believe City Commission is commissioners in attendance. So we have a city planner report.
Well, the one thing I want to just make reference to, we do have an updated site plan spreadsheet that Bobby Durkee, our planner one, went through all the site plans that have come in since he has a little time on his hands at home. Well, not much time, because we have been doing a lot of mapping work for us related to the marijuana regulations. But that was sent out earlier today. Just so the commissioners are aware, even though our office is closed, we have been accepting site plans, and those have been put under review by the, and relayed out to the multiple departments. Zoom meetings have been held with the applicants. So we are trying to, keep that process in motion, even while our doors are closed. And so far, we've only really taken in 4 site plans since the closure of our office, but we managed to keep the process going on the site plans that were already in the queue. So, and some of those projects include, a good example is Graphics Packaging and their facility expansion up off North Pitcher and Patterson. In fact, they were before the Zoning Board of Appeals 2 nights ago for their building on Harrison that's being expanded. That's also part of that large project. So, so any project deemed essential is to continue to move forward, and we're to provide permits, inspections, plan review. So just wanted to basically point out that, that process is still moving forward, just not as fast and efficient as it was once before. But if anybody asks, just let them know to reach out to the planning staff if they want to talk to our site plan review folks about a project. Thank you. And one more thing, the marijuana ordinances, for those that have been following that track, they will be before the City Commission again on May 18th for the public hearing. And there are some tweaks that the City Commission has wanted us to look at more closely as far as the potential land area for certain uses, and the adding things like playgrounds and public pools and youth centers to that 500-foot separation that applied just to daycares before will now apply to daycares, playgrounds, pools, and youth centers. So, so we're revising the potential land area maps, and once those are done, those will all be back up on the website for everyone to view. So more to come on that.
Great. Thank you for the report. Finally, miscellaneous comments by planning commissioners. Let's go. Anyone have any comments? Or maybe we'll just, Mr. Wisner, anything? No? Ms. Chambers? Ms. Greenman Wright? Mr. Espinosa? No? Mr. Patelko? Ms. Ellis?
Have a great Mother's Day weekend. Don't forget your moms. Thanks to the city staff and everyone. Hope everyone's staying safe.
Mr. Pitts?
Not really good, but just wanted to say hi to everybody. Good seeing everybody. Hopefully everybody's staying healthy and well.
Thank you for that. Yes, thank you, staff. All the extras hidden behind the squares and for making this possible. And yeah, be safe. Enjoy the sunshine before it's gone. If there's nothing else, have a lovely evening. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.